Alright, since I'm OP, I think I only need one take. As the world crumbles, the windows shatter and a globe turns from Sydney, the capital of Australia. Wait, what do you mean it isn't? Well, it's just the world crumbles with QTVNickBro.
Hi everyone, it's me again. Long time no here. It is indeed a pleasure for me to once again welcome you to my podcast as the world crumbles, as I revive it for a second season. This season will be larger, bigger, uh, what's the same word? Better and stronger than the last one, and I hope to improve it even more as we go along. And I'm just pleased to once again welcome you to here. I can't say that enough. Um, Before I start the episode, I want to explain why I revived it. I have been thinking about it ever since I actually ended the first season. I know that at the end of the first season, I said that I think it wasn't likely that I was going to revive it. Yeah. Um, but in the end, a few months later, I changed my mind. I've realized that this actually is really interesting, and I wanted to try again. You're trying again. So once again, good old Vidal is here in the intro there. So like in the first season, I'm here. Everything is here. Just this time, new guests. And today's guest, today's guest is someone I've known on Twitter for some time. He's a pretty cool guy from Chicago. Well, actually, he's from Belarus, but he moved to Chicago, I believe, when he was about two. We'll find out for sure in a moment as I welcome him. Say hi, Mikita.
Hello, pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it really is. Tell us about yourselves.
So I am Nikita, or Mikita. I've known you for, I'd say, a few months now on Twitter. And I'm from Chicago, as you mentioned. I came to Chicago when I was 2 years old. I was born in Belarus, in Minsk. And at the moment, I use Twitter mostly for politics and just for personal, just like a diary for me. So yeah, that's me. And I studied international relations in college. Have a master's degree, and I think that's I think that's me.
Well, that's nice that I got something right. That's very interesting. Thank you. So you said that you're studying international relations, right? Um, why?
So I
Yeah.
I study international relations. I have already finished it. I
Oh,
graduated with my master's degree in 2022,
congratulations.
and so I took it for 6 years, 4 years in undergrad, and 2 years for graduate school. And I took international relations because I thought that I would read the news all the time, and I wanted to know why something is the way it is, why something is happening in the world. And I felt that if I studied international relations, especially different cultures, I would have a better understanding, a better grasp of the situation. And when I do read the news now, I have a feeling that I know at least a little bit about the situation.
Oh yeah. Congratulations, just congratulations on
But
graduating. Uh,
thank you.
I myself actually wanted to go into international relations as well, but in the end, I decided to choose a different career path. And what you described is
What do you
very relatable.
What do you do now?
Uh,
What do you study or studied?
Screenwriting.
Screenwriting. So what is that?
Yes. Well, you write the script for a movie or a TV show
Oh,
or a
okay.
podcast.
Or podcast, yeah.
Yeah,
And the thing I like about podcasts is that you can look back, let's say in 10 years, 15, 20 years, you'll have all these recordings, and then you'll be looking back in time and seeing how the world looked like at the moment. I
yeah,
think that's very interesting, you know.
yeah. Yeah, you're right. I myself honestly don't really look back on this podcast much, as in I don't rewatch the episodes. I only watch them once after the premiere so that I can make sure that I didn't, double check if everything is right. Um,
Right.
but yeah, you did make a good point in that, down the line, I can go back and, see how stuff was back then and how it is now compare.
Yeah, I mean, when I studied international relations in school, we often read diaries, World War II diaries, Civil War diaries, that people wrote at the time, describing what they thought was going on, what they predicted, what they thought was going to happen. And I think at the time they didn't really think much of it. It was just a diary for them. But after all these years, it's
Yeah,
very much like a time capsule.
yeah, it really is. Same goes for
Especially
radio.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah, radio for film.
exactly. It it really makes you appreciate all of this. How technology advances as well. Back then podcasts weren't a thing, right? They only became a thing like what 20 years ago. So it was a bit
Yeah,
different back then.
I think it's fairly recent. I think there was probably some sort of podcast type experience back then. Um, like I would say maybe the Tonight Show. Uh,
Yeah,
I'm not sure if you saw these all those videos, all those old videos on YouTube of people like Jimmy, his name,
I did.
Mr. Carson.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's like I would say that's like the precursor to podcasts, like the old version.
yeah. Actually, now you say that, it was actually the inspiration. Like those late night shows, they were the inspiration for the final episode of the first season. I made it kind of feel like a late night show. Um, because
Maybe you know this
yeah.
guy from Ukraine, Dmitry Gordon.
Oh yeah, I do.
This, yeah, I feel like he's kind of like a podcast guy a little bit, a
Yeah,
old version.
yeah, he is. He has a style, of interviews. Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess it's somewhat similar to what I'm doing. I guess.
yeah, yeah. I guess.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. That's very interesting. And so you right now don't work in the field, right, of international relations.
No. So I really want to, but it's very difficult to find a job, especially in Chicago where I live. Um, in America, I would say the best locations for an international relations graduate would be New York City, where the United Nations headquarters is,
Nah.
or Washington, D.C., where that's where I lived. I lived there for 2 years, but it's very competitive because there will be like one opening in in like an organization, and then every single graduate would want to be taking that job. So you would have competition with all these people, and I would say some of these competition, like some of the people who I was competing with, I would say are a lot better than me. So it's not surprising that they probably got the job and I didn't. And then in Chicago, where I live, there is very little to do with regards to international relations. Very few international organizations. It's mostly commerce, it's mostly finance, it's mostly uh, business, which is what I'm trying to get into now. I'm trying to get into a business, maybe McDonald's. We have the headquarters in Chicago, very very tall building. We have a Boeing building. We have a big Google building that's going to be built in Chicago. So we have a lot of those. Uh, and I might find a job that has something to do with international relations. But we'll see. At the moment, I don't work in international relations. I work as a legal assistant, helping people start businesses.
Oh
They would
wow.
come up to me and ask me, how can I open a business, or how do I start a business? What do I need to do? What are the rules? If I should open a LLC or if I should open a corporation? they come up to me and ask these questions. And most of my clients are from Ukraine, from Russia, Belarus, Moldova, Kyrgyzstan. So they're usually recent immigrants or those who came maybe 5, 6 years ago. They don't really speak English very well, so they rely on me because I'm a native speaker of English to figure out what to do, to read all these documents, to consult on um, legal paperwork, give calls to the IRS, all this type of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's very good of you. Uh, you know,
Yeah,
especially for these people from Ukraine, from Eastern Europe. To them, America is just something new completely. I would know
yeah,
myself as a new arrival here in Australia, but it's nice to have someone who can help you, start something like a business in this new country where you don't know anything, like even the laws. And yeah, that's very cool. Um, you
yeah,
mentioned the job competition, and I'm starting to see that like not just with your field, but I started to see that with every like more or less field in existence. I keep hearing like
yeah,
stories about even like the most basic jobs becoming very competitive. There are simply just not enough job openings right now in some places, like here in Australia, for example. And there's just too much demand. There's more demand than supply, basically. And that is very worrying. Um, it worries me. It worries a lot of other young people who wanna get a job, at least like a small job. Nothing like in something, well, nothing in their field that they're studying, like in the university, for example, but just like something basic. And yeah, and the problem just doesn't
yeah,
stop. And yeah, it's just uh, the economic times in the world in general are not also the best. But you know, it's good to hear when people are still able to as you mentioned, start a business or do something
well,
that they
that's a
love.
good way to yeah, that's a good way to make money now. I mean, if you can't find a job, you make one, and you make yourself the boss.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's what many people are doing, especially what I've noticed right now with recent immigrants from Ukraine, uh, the ones who I help out. Many of them start as truck drivers. They will come up to me and ask me to open a business for them because in America, every truck driver, almost every truck driver, there are some that aren't this way. There are some truck drivers who work for a company as a driver. They have something called a W-2 form. They basically have to work as an employee, so they get paid a health insurance, they get paid a wage, sometimes hourly, sometimes salary. So those are kind of rare for recent immigrants, but uh, many truck drivers actually their own company. They are the president of the company. They are the only employee, and the truck they drive is a company. So it's very interesting, basically. But truck drivers they make a lot of money too. So they can make $100,000 a year.
Yeah,
And for somebody who came to from Ukraine recently, $100,000 a year is a lot of money. It's I would say it's like ridiculously lots of money. Um, so that's a path I'm seeing a lot nowadays. They come to America and they become a truck driver, and good. That's good on them, I think.
yeah,
Um,
that's very cool. And
yeah,
I remember hearing about this Ukrainian chain of um, dumpling stores. Well, yeah, stores where they sell like dumplings, Ukrainian dumplings like vareniki, pelmeni, and so on. And in Ukraine, it's called Balavana Hala, which means uh, Jolly Hala, I think. Yeah, I can't forget. Yeah,
I heard about that. Yeah, I heard about that.
yeah, and abroad they open restaurants under this different brand, but they have like stores in like all over the world, like in America, for example. Um, and the franchises abroad are usually opened by Ukrainians, and in that way, the company helps Ukrainians abroad by helping them start a franchise of theirs in America, for example, and have a business. It's very cool. Um,
Yeah,
and
I
it's
have never
also
seen that. chain in America, but there is one chain in Chicago where I live
Yeah.
called Soloway Coffee. I think they're from Chernobyl, and it's a very good. They have very good croissants and like sandwiches.
That's cool. Never heard of them either.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you said croissants. You reminded me of this
Croissant.
croissant. Yeah. Sorry for my French. I remembered this other chain in Ukraine called Lviv Croissants. Croissants, okay, whatever. And they sell, croissants. And they recently made this one, which is basically a child of a croissant and borscht. The soup borscht. And it's basically a borscht croissant. So it has what has lettuce, tomato. I'm describing it for something different, am I? A borscht in a croissant form, basically. It's something. People say it's all right. I think people like it. It's made by this. It's made in collaboration with this famous Ukrainian chef named Yevhen Karpatenko. Probably heard of him. He's a pretty cool guy, chef. He even, when Anthony Blinken visited Ukraine recently, he actually gave him a dinner at his restaurant, which is very cool. Ukrainian cultural victory. I should put that on the screen. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of restaurants opening up recently in Chicago here from Ukraine, but also lots of restaurants from like Georgia, Kyrgyzstan, lots of those as well. Lately, like that's when I was growing up, there wasn't as many, but nowadays there's a lot, and I think that's cool. I mean, you don't have to really go back to Ukraine or go back to Kyrgyzstan or Georgia to get the experience of the culture.
And supermarkets as well, allowing to buy, Ukrainian, Russian food items.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of jealous because here in Sydney, they don't have like a single Ukrainian restaurant. You cannot buy, Flipchick or something.
Well, in our supermarkets, we have a lot of Ukrainian products, especially now. Again, I could say the last, I would say 4 or 5 years, there's a lot of Ukrainian products now. You can buy a lot of kvastaras, like 5 different versions now. When I was a kid growing up, I only had one version, just the regular kvastaras, and that's it. Now we have like chlebny version and stuff like that. It's like, wow. We have a lot of those what do you call them? Dried bread. It's flint. It's like sukhariki. I'm not sure how you say it in English, but it's
out in England, in like America. I mean, like as a concept. I think they have like.
There is a word. There is a word. I just forgot what it is. It's there is a special word. There is. Yes. I think it's called. It's a French word.
Oh, that's
dried bread. It sounds French.
Oh yeah, I understand.
I forgot what it's called. It's breadcrumbs, but there's croutons. I remember now. It's called croutons.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're called croutons in English, and they sell those Ukrainian croutons, like caviar flavor and like shashlik flavor and stuff. It's pretty cool. You don't really have that in America, but now you do.
Yeah, I remember actually an old video of Americans trying out the Russian versions of those, sukhariki croutons.
Yeah.
And they said that they tasted like dog food.
Well, Americans they don't really understand like stuff like, the jelly, the gelatin with meat.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah, I understand them.
Americans, they don't. They think that's really strange. I gave a friend one time with that. He tried it. He said it was really strange.
I can understand them. Yeah. Of course they don't understand what it is because it doesn't have like 10 like kilograms of sugar crammed into it.
Yeah.
I've just seen like recently about how food in America is way more unhealthier than the very same food item in Europe. The ingredients are way unhealthier. Some of them are outright banned in the EU or other countries.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, like you have
often.
all those food colorings, like you have like red flavors. Like, what is that?
Yeah. How do you like survive?
The one thing that is really strange, I lived in Germany for a few months as a foreign exchange student.
Oh wow.
Because I studied German in college, and one of the requirements was taking a trip to Germany and staying there for a few months. And I did that. I stayed in this town called Marburg, not far from Frankfurt. It's like an hour away. A very beautiful town, by the way. I recommend people visit it. It's far away from the tourist places, and most tourists don't go there because it's so far away.
That's good.
But it's very beautiful. And what I found very interesting about European supermarkets, which you don't see in America, is eggs. In America, all the eggs are refrigerated. There are in fridges, always cold. In Europe, I would see eggs just on the floor. Like you'd have a big box of eggs, and for me that's just a bit weird because in America you would never see eggs on the shelf like that. There would always be next to the milk in fridges, and you have to go home and then put them in the fridge again, because otherwise apparently they go bad or whatever. But apparently in Europe it's okay because they have very good quality control, and America does not have that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Many things. I saw many examples of that in Europe of things that in America you don't really see ever.
Yeah, I mean, I also seen like small refrigerators that you would usually use for like dairy, for example. Also house cartons of eggs, but I've usually seen them right next to eggs just being in the open, not in the fridge. Although that's fridges in Ukraine are not really common with eggs. So it depends, but yeah, it is. I've noticed that too when I went to Costco here. They have Costco here in Australia, and I think the eggs are in the fridge as well. Yeah.
What do you think about Costco? How is it for you? What's your perception? What's your first opinion of Costco? It's a very American company.
Well, I think it's for the job that I think it sets out to do, which is to have to offer food items in bulk. I think it does a good job at that. It's just the problem is I don't need to buy like 10 packets of ketchup, Like I don't go to Costco super often, like maybe like once a week or once 2 weeks or something. Actually, no, I think it's once a week, yeah. Okay, I do a bit go to Costco, but it's usually...
once a week is a lot. I don't go... I have something called Sam's Club in America. It's like Costco, but it's with Walmart. So it's owned by Walmart. But they have a lot of, it's basically Costco in a way. You buy in bulk, it's wholesale. You have also a food court, which sells really cheap food, like $1 for a pizza, or like 65 cents for a drink. It's very cheap. But I just don't have any, only time I go there is to fuel up my car, because they have cheap gas too. And I also go there to buy water, or like Coca-Cola, because that stuff I can just put away in my house and not have to buy again for a long time.
Yeah.
But not ketchup. I have no need for like 5 bottles of ketchup. I cannot even finish 1 bottle of ketchup in a year, let alone 5.
But it's just I go when I do go there. Actually, no, I'm not sure. I think we go. Just myself just haven't been. It's just my mom who was at Costco. She goes there more often than I am, but when it comes to her and our family in general, we go to Costco, I believe, not once a week, but every 2 weeks, I think. Yeah. And even when we do go, we don't usually buy a lot of stuff. And sometimes we only go there purely for the pizza in the food court.
Because, the food court.
yeah, the food court is actually pretty good. I mean, it's still cheap, right? It's not like the best in the world or anything, but it actually it's a pretty good deal for what you're getting. And it is a pizza slice for I believe how much? I can go check right now. Costco, Australia. Now the prices, obviously Australia has the Australian dollar, so it's a bit
Yeah.
uh, different. But it's one slice for $3 Australian, which is, let me check. It's $2.07 American, which is pretty cheap.
For a slice of pizza,
Yeah.
it's not bad. I'm not sure what the price is here in the U.S. I actually don't go to Costco because I go to Sam's Club. Um, but I believe it's pretty similar. It's very cheap either way. I mean, usually a pizza in America would cost you at least $7 for a slice.
Yeah.
At like a place like Sbarro or whatever. And then here in Costco, it's like $2, so that's a good deal.
Yeah, and the whole pizza costs 16 Australian, which is 11 American, which is too
Yeah.
pretty good deal. Although, from personal experience speaking, uh, the price is that low. Not my opinion. The price is that low because you have to wait a literal hour for your pizza to be made. Well, I'm joking,
Yeah.
but actually, I had to wait like an hour, like 2 times, to get this whole pizza. It's crazy. At that point, I mean, I guess it's still worth it because of the price, but yeah, just too long. I don't know why they take so long. But
Have you been to IKEA before?
oh yeah, I have. Um, it's nice.
Yeah, IKEA. It's like the closest thing to Europe in America. Like if I want to go to Europe and I don't want to buy a plane ticket, I go to IKEA because it's basically Europe. And
Indeed.
they have this food. They have all this Swedish food. It's like the closest thing to a cafeteria, like the one I had in Germany. When I studied in university, we had a cafeteria there and it had really good food at a very cheap price. And you basically don't ever see that in America besides IKEA. Like
Yeah.
that's the place you go to.
I love dining there as well. It is quite cheap as well there.
It's
Yeah.
I feel like it was cheaper before. I'm not sure. Like I remember going there and spending maybe like $12 for a whole meal. Like I'll buy the meatballs and the whole meal with the meatballs and a drink and then also a slice of cake. And it would cost me total, I would say $12. But now I'm not sure if it's inflation or whatever. It's like $20 now or 22. I'm like, what the fuck? Sorry about
It's okay.
yeah.
It's okay.
And yeah, it's like what the hell.
Yeah. Well, I think actually, yeah, I think it's I think I've seen those a little bit frozen price. I mean, I've only been there like 5 times, but it feels like the food should cost a little bit less, from my experience. I mean, that's just me. I don't know. But yeah, IKEA food is nice as well. When you order meatballs, right? I don't get why they put the jam on the meatballs. Like maybe it's just a
Oh,
Swedish
usually they
thing.
put it.
Yeah.
They usually put it on the side.
Oh
They
yeah.
put that on top of the meatballs
No, on the
in
side. On the
Australia.
side. Yeah. On the
Yeah.
side. Yeah. It's just I guess it's like for you know uh I suppose like the idea, in my opinion, like when I first I mean, my theory is the reason they put it there is so that like if you have something sweet, you can have like a sauce for it, basically. But I'm not sure because it's in the it's with the meatballs kind of. But I guess it's a Swedish thing.
Yeah,
But
I guess.
yeah, and I've had the pleasure of being at an IKEA, uh, in an IKEA dining restaurant in 2 countries, in Czech Republic and Australia, and honestly, the difference is very few. They're IKEAs are very consistent,
Yeah.
more or less. I mean, the only real like difference is obviously the language, but other than that,
The
they
language,
always
yeah.
make them more or less the same. which is nice.
The thing is, like IKEA, they are very consistent. I've been to IKEA in Chicago. I've been to IKEA in Washington D.C. I've been to IKEA in Dubai.
Wow.
It's the same. It's the same.
Oh,
Almost the same.
exactly.
The language is different, and the food is sometimes different. Like in Dubai, they have halal food because they don't eat pork.
Well, obviously,
Um, yeah, but it's the same. But if you look at Aldi, the German company,
yeah.
or Lidl, we have that in America too. We have an Aldi, we have Lidl. They are very different from the German versions. Very different. Like you go to the one in Germany and you go to the one in America, and it's night and day. I mean, the prices are similar, and some products are similar, but in America, Aldi only has products that Aldi had. Like, how should I explain? All the products are Aldi brand.
Oh,
So
yeah,
this is the
private label.
Aldi ketchup, this is the Aldi chocolate, this is the Aldi bread, this is the Aldi chips. If I remember correctly, in Germany, Aldi's had a lot of different brands. It's like not just Aldi stuff. You had like normal, like Fanta, Coca-Cola, like you would find that in Aldi all the time. Like, so it's more like a normal store. Whereas in America, it's very much just like and Trader Joe's was the same thing. I'm not sure if you've ever been to one or if you even know what that is.
I know, but
But
never
Trader
been.
Joe's is, yeah, it's very similar. Like you go inside Trader Joe's, it's also owned by Aldi, but it's a different Aldi, Aldi Nord. So it's in America we have the regular Aldi's Aldi Süd, which is the South German one, and then Aldi Nord isn't in America, but they have Trader Joe's.
This is the real
So
German divide.
this is the real German divide. Uh, so Trader Joe's here, they only sell Trader Joe's things, like the pizza Trader Joe's, the meat Trader Joe's. It's
Yeah.
just one brand. It's
It's
like
interesting
Cuba
concept.
communism, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to Aldi here in Australia, which is the southern one, by the way, not the northern one. And I think it's like the German one, where I think it's 50-50, where half items are from Aldi and half are others. Although I did notice that, some items that were in other supermarkets, like, this is Australian, you won't know this, but Woolies or Coles, those have some items that Aldi doesn't. And in general, here in Australia, Aldi has a reputation of being the cheapest of the three. Four, if you count IG, that's a different story.
Yeah.
And in general, like when I enter Aldi, I get the vibe of this Ukrainian supermarket chain called ATB. I don't know if you heard about it.
I heard about it. I've seen the memes of ATB.
Yeah, exactly. And they remind me, especially of the newer, like the black ones, not the old blue ones, but and they remind me that because not just design, like all these are like black on the inside, like the color, it's mostly black colored walls and everything. But also because it's cheap, and also because those private labels, those items that are only in Aldi, they take up a lot of stuff, a lot of space in the store, and yeah, there's just a lot of them. But I like Aldi. It's nice.
Have you ever noticed that a lot of stores like have their own smell when you walk inside? Like I feel like every time I go inside an Aldi's, it smells like an Aldi's.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
I did.
I feel like, I mean, it's actually they do this on purpose, by the way. It's not like something that I just noticed. They actually, I learned this in marketing class when I was in college. We were studying grocery stores, and they actually purposely decide how the store is supposed to smell. Like they have these like professionals, like these consultants that they decide, our store is going to smell like this item. And they actually do it, like they pump in the smells. I don't know, just every time I go inside Aldi's, it's like, only Aldi's has this smell. It's interesting.
I never know. I mean, I think I've suspected it, but I never like actually knew it was a real thing because I heard about it, like on Reddit, for example. But I thought it was like a how you call it, an urban legend. Like like something like Snopes would disprove. Not like a real
Yeah.
thing.
No, it's a
It's
real
crazy.
thing.
Um,
Yeah.
so like they
Like
have,
every Walmart
yeah.
smells the same.
I think I think I've not to come think of it. I've noticed it more in Ukraine than here in Australia. I think I really noticed it in Australia. Maybe this is just me. My receptors are getting old with time as I get older. But I think in Ukraine, like I could tell. Like for example, when I entered different, I don't know if the memes are that deep, but when I entered this other Ukrainian supermarket named Silpo, you kind of had that smell of the store. And I know they're a very big brand. They're very famous, especially for their very uh, nicely themed supermarkets that they occasionally make. I mean, build. But they really had the smell that I could always like knew.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a Silpo.
There's a lot of science that goes into supermarkets and especially grocery stores, which I learned in
Exactly.
school, in college. Like, have you noticed that when you walk inside a grocery store, the first thing you see, well, not just grocery store, I would say any supermarket, maybe ATB does this too, I don't know. But you walk in, the first thing you see is grocery stuff like fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
And then you walk around, and then you have the other stuff. Like in America at least, I'm not sure how that's like in Australia. I'm sure it's a similar thing in Australia.
I think it's
I'm
the
not
same.
sure if it's like in Ukraine, but you walk inside a Walmart, and the first thing you see is like fruits and vegetables and like meat.
Same. It's the same in Ukraine, same in
You walk
Australia.
inside a Target, you see vegetables, fruits.
Yep.
You walk inside a Jewel-Osco here in Chicago, it's our local chain. Also, same thing, fruits and vegetables. And they do this on purpose because they kind of like mapped out the route that a customer is supposed to take. So you're supposed to start out with the fruits and vegetables, and you walk around to the milk because people like milk and bread. Oftentimes, the milk and bread are right next to each other on purpose. Then only then do you have the other stuff, other things like chips and
Yeah, exactly.
cola and stuff. Uh,
Exactly.
I don't know. It's very fascinating because you don't really think about this, but if you actually study this, you'll notice these patterns. And then once you notice this, you kind of hard to forget about it.
Yeah, of course, thought about it in college. I remember another like trick they use in supermarkets, where they put the more expensive stuff at the aisle level of on the shelves, and the more cheaper
Yeah.
stuff like in the more inconvenient spots below or above, where you have to like bend, and
Yeah. And
I remember
also, have you noticed that like a lot of brands have the colors yellow and red, like McDonald's?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure how it's like in Australia. I think they have the yellow and green now over there for the logo, don't they?
Those are the
But in
national
America,
colors of Australia.
oh, really?
Yeah, really. Green and yellow.
I did not know that.
It's weird, but
Interesting.
yes.
But okay, well, I would say in general, there's a lot of yellow on purpose so that, your eyes, they can look at the yellow. It really attracts your eyes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, back to Costco. It's kind of weird, but in Ukraine, don't really have a concept of, don't really have like those Costco stores or whatever. The closest thing we have is a Metro. It's like a German kind of Costco thing. It's basically the same, that you have like bulk items. But
Yeah, I've been to a Metro. It's similar.
yeah, it's kind of like that. But that's it. They don't have any other like big warehouses basically of items. But I remember, when I was little and my parents would get me to Metro to buy some stuff. We didn't really go to Metro often, but like occasionally we would. I remember when I was little, you had to have a membership card to enter it, and if you didn't have it, no enter. And at the time, I thought it was like kind of weird because it was the only store, in Ukraine that I knew of back then that had this. No other stores allow you. Well, don't force you to have a card or anything. They don't even have a card of that sort, a membership card. But I remember later Metro got rid of those for some reason. I don't know why, but I think last time I checked, you can have a card and it gives you discounts, but you can also shop without it for a bit more, for a higher price, which is interesting. But I forgot about that when I left Ukraine. Well, when I stopped going to metro, because I haven't been to one in like 4 years. But then I remembered this kind of concept when I've moved here to Australia and I've been to Costco for the first time, and I realized that you need a membership card for Costco. It's a pretty interesting concept that you need like to be in the club to say in order to
Yeah.
kind of use it, and it's pretty wild too. Like you have to like renew it like every month, I believe, and there's different tiers as well. And yeah, to me, like as a Ukrainian, to me that's like foreign concept. That's a very much foreign concept, because again, other than Metro, even then not anymore. There was no other like store in Ukraine that had you buy a membership just to access it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, for how long have you been living in Australia now?
A few months.
A few months. So, besides the membership cards, what else do you find unusual about Australia?
Well, that's a good question. There's a lot of stuff.
Besides maybe like the roads the cars are driving on the left side. Obviously, that's not the case in Ukraine.
Yeah,
Not
I
the
had
case in
to
America
look
either.
both sides at first.
Yeah.
I'm actually scared about going to Ukraine because if I go back and I have to cross the road, I'll have to relearn everything. And then I go back to Australia, I have to relearn again. Oh, I can imagine that happening. But yeah, this is Australia for you. This is kind of not really like a physical thing. It's more of a mental thing, like a human behavior thing. It would be correct to say. But I noticed that when actually no, wait, no. No, never mind. I was gonna say something, but I realized it's a bit incorrect. Not in sense like bad, or it's just like literally the information I was gonna say. It's actually like not correct. Near spreads psyops on this podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say. Well, I found it interesting how when I moved here to this part of Sydney where I live, which I won't say because reasons, I've noticed that it kind of reminds me of America. I know you just said aside from roads, but I will mention that sometimes, not always, it's like America level, but sometimes the infrastructure is not exactly how should I put it, the best for people who walk. How you say this?
Pedestrians.
Pedestrians, right? It's not like I know in America it's horrible there for pedestrians. It's very car centric, but in Australia, it's a bit better. But I mean, it depends really. It really depends on the part because I volunteer in a warehouse, and there is no proper like sidewalks or anything. I have to walk on grass to cross like the road, for example. But
Yeah,
then in
that
other
happens a
parts,
lot.
yeah, in other parts it's kind of the opposite where the cars, kind of more of a secondary thing. But it's kind of like the thing, right? Australia is kind of like Europe and UK and America mixed together, which sounds kind of like Canada, but Canada is also the French then as well. That's how I put it. And honestly, this place is quite, quite low. Like I keep saying, this place is definitely influenced by America in more ways than one. So just Costco's,
Yeah.
the southern brands like American Express, for example, is here, which I found kind of weird because it's American Express, not Australian Express. But whatever. Well, why do I don't forbid anyone or anything. But I found it kind of funny. But yeah, it's nice here. I like it.
Yeah, America. I would say Australia and America are two countries that I would say are the closest. I'm not sure how to say this exactly, but the vibes. I'm not sure if you know. America and Australia have I would say, of any country, these two have the closest vibes. You have a lot of space. Like you go to the UK, England or Scotland. It's very, very dense. You don't have a lot of space. It feels a bit claustrophobic. I would say most of Europe feels this way. I'm not sure about Belarus exactly, or maybe Ukraine or like Latvia, but Germany, France, the UK, they feel very claustrophobic. And in America, you just have all this space, this
Yeah.
like room. And Australia, I feel like, has that as well. And
Australia's
I cannot
universe.
think of. Yeah, well, you have even less people there. It's a lot more empty. So it's the only like if somebody asked me like what other country would you want to live, where would you want to live? I would not say like Sweden or Norway or whatever. No, I would not say that. I would not really want to live in Europe, honestly. Um, I live in Australia. That's what I'd say. I would go. I'd say I want to go to Australia instead of America then,
Oh yeah.
because it's so similar. It's like the closest thing to America that's not America. People say Canada is the thing, but I would say that Canada is basically America. People might say it's controversial, but it's basically America.
Um,
Culturally, I would say. Except the French part. Quebec, that's
yeah.
not. Quebec is Quebec. But like British Columbia and like Alberta, it's, you can't really tell the difference. Just only like some very minor details, like it says kilometers instead of miles on the road.
Yeah. Nikita JJ McAuliffe arc.
Yeah. I watch his videos sometimes. He actually is a lot different on YouTube compared to how he acts on Twitter. I would say they're very different people.
Yeah, true.
I'm not sure if you know it. I'm not sure if you noticed his Twitter and if you watch his videos, but he's a
I,
lot more sane on YouTube. He comes across a lot more professional. On Twitter,
I
he is a little bit more unhinged, I would say.
yeah, he's a little bit nuts.
Yeah,
But on
yeah, but a
YouTube,
little bit crazy.
yeah, like
But
on
on
his,
YouTube, he's fine.
yeah, his videos are fun, I guess. But it's kind of crazy that he's actually he portrays himself as conservative, but yet in his YouTube videos, it doesn't really come across well. Like I didn't notice like until I was actually told that he's like supposed to be a conservative or something. But like I
Yeah, I
was like,
can't
what?
tell. From the videos, I cannot tell.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Like he just seems like a liberal kind of guy.
yeah.
Uh,
I would not live in Canada though. I would not. Like
why?
as I said, if it's not America, I'd live in Australia or New Zealand maybe.
America.
Yeah, but I would not live in Canada. I just feel like there's no point. Like it's colder, it's more expensive,
Or you
it's
could move to
less important. You'd have less job
yeah,
opportunities. It's just like it's like
not the same.
what other countries like this? I can't think of one.
Oh
Because
yeah,
like Germany and Austria maybe.
I was gonna
Like
say New Zealand.
but New Zealand and Australia, they're very similar. Yeah, like why would you live in New Zealand if you can just go to Australia? But I feel like New Zealand and Australia are very similar.
Well, yeah, but
Whereas,
maybe it's just me, but I think New Zealand feels more British than Australia feels more American in my way. I mean, maybe it's just me. I mean, it just kind of
I've
comes
never
across
been
that
to
way.
either.
I mean, I've
Have
been
you been
to
to New
New
Zealand?
Zealand. No, never. I've only been to Australia and Ukraine
Yeah.
and Czech Republic. It was nice in Czech Republic. It was very cool. Um, you know, but yeah, I'm not here. And yeah, I definitely get that American vibe here, like this aftertaste and everything. Especially when you go to like, well, in like the industrial areas or the CBD, it's like the downtown where the big buildings are and everything, skyscrapers, big buildings. Yeah, and
Well,
it feels like New York there in CBD. Like I really felt like I was in New York. Like everything down to the Apple Store, and the like the skyscrapers and everything, just like New York. Oh, and also the trash. Yeah.
well, my parents they went to Australia. I've never been to Australia, but my parents have, mom and dad, and they went to Brisbane. I think
Oh,
it's in the north. I'm not sure. I'm not that good at geography when it comes to Australia, but I think it's somewhere further north.
yeah.
They said it's very clean. It's very nice. a lot of young people, lots of energy. They're like, Nikita, you should move to Australia if you really want to live, if you want to leave America sometime. Uh, well, I don't know about that because it's kind of far away from America and like everything. But in general, Australia, I've heard a lot of good things about it. And I would say the culture also is very unique compared to Canada, minus Quebec. It
Yeah.
just Australia is Australia. You have like alligators. No, we have that in Florida too, but you have like lots of these weird animals. You have the deserts. You have a good climate. Palm trees sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Yeah, palm
heard
trees,
a
by
lot
the
of
way.
good things.
Yeah, I was
Do you
gonna
have them
say
in Sydney?
palm trees. Yeah, I was gonna say this, but like in Ukraine, the only place we have palm trees are in the southern part of Crimea, like very southern tip where they have like subtropics. The only part of Ukraine is subtropics, I believe. That's where they have.
Do they have palm trees in Odessa?
I think like a few like kind of like I think there were like a few planted by like some rich like dudes who own like a building complex or whatever. But the south is not their natural habitat. It's not they're not really meant to be there. I think they can even sustain properly the climate for that because the Alaska is a bit on the colder side. I mean, it's definitely like it's definitely very hot. It can get very hot in the summer, especially. But
Yeah. Well,
it's
maybe with
not.
climate change, you'll have palm trees in Odessa.
Yay! But yeah, but here in Sydney, they're way more common. They're like almost everywhere. Well, okay, well maybe not everywhere, but they're pretty common. Like you'll definitely see one if you spend like a day here. you know, that is one of those things. I'm gonna say that you can see here that you can see in Ukraine palm trees. If you really like palm trees, move to Australia. And I guess how
Yeah.
it is.
You can go to Los Angeles or Miami.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I was gonna say right. It like occasionally, like especially with those thin palm trees, it does really remind me of Los Angeles. Like I feel like I'm in Los Angeles, like when I go to like Bondi Beach, which is like the beach of not just Sydney but all of Australia in general. It's very nice, and yeah, that really does feel like Los Angeles there, or Miami. Yeah, Miami. It feels like Miami there as well.
yeah.
um, yeah, but we keep talking about like Australia and America is I mean yeah, you're from America and I was talking about America.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to Los Angeles. People say Los Angeles isn't good. They say you have too many cars. It's not very walkable. You have apparently bad public transportation. You have crime. It's dirty. A lot of homeless people. A lot of drugs. Um, and the thing is, like, after being told all that, you know, for all these years, like every time you talk about Los Angeles online or you watch like the news or whatever, you always see like people talking shit about Los Angeles, how it's disgusting. And then, you know, when you go there actually and visit, it's not as bad as people say it is. Like, I went there in 2019. That was my first and only time. I went there alone because I was bored and I had the winter break from college and I had some time and I had some money and I thought I'm gonna go fly to Los Angeles. And I had very low expectations. The expectations were basically on the floor. I thought it's gonna look like trash. And then I arrived there, and it's not trash. It's not. I mean, you still had dirt and trash, but it was not as bad as I thought it was. I actually had a really good time in Los Angeles, and that's what I recommend actually doing for tourists. Like they have very high expectations for a city, like especially Paris. Like people think they're gonna go to Paris. It's gonna
Oh
be romantic. It's gonna be beautiful. They're gonna kiss someone who's very pretty. They're gonna have delicious croissants.
yeah,
Uh, and then they go to Paris and it's trash.
yeah.
And
They
it
even have
smells like
like
piss.
they have a
And
syndrome that's like they call it
yeah,
that describes it. Yeah, it's
Paris
pretty.
syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah,
And they have the same exact situation with Los Angeles. I feel like they say all this stuff about Los Angeles, but it's the opposite. It's the exact opposite of the Paris syndrome. Uh, you have such low expectations for Los Angeles that when you actually get there, I feel like it feels like it's not as bad as people say it is. which is I found really funny actually. Like, like I thought it was gonna look like I thought it was gonna be like awful, but I like Los Angeles. I say it's like the if I had to leave Chicago and live somewhere else in America, I'd pick Los Angeles. And
Yeah,
I really liked it. It's really nice.
I should go there one day. And America in general, I'd love to go to America. I honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a bit, a bit concerned. I'm not saying. I don't think like those studios you mentioned that America is a shithole or something. And my mom definitely thinks so because she watches videos of this one Ukrainian woman that moved to America a few years ago, and the way she describes it is not really in the best terms. She says it's a bit hard. There's some of the negative side, to put it lightly. And after watching that, she kind of has that kind of opinion as well that America is not like the best place to live, to put it mildly. Okay, she doesn't like hate it or anything. She's just she just won't move there. that's what I'm getting because she gets a bit mad and I tell her that that.
I think it's because they have such high expectations.
I guess yeah. I'll also another thing I would comment is earlier I joked about the CBD having as much trash as New York. That's not true. I mean, from what I'm seeing, New York has like way more trash than even here.
Yeah, you have a lot of trash, a lot of rats, and it smells bad apparently.
Well, yeah, but
that's
honestly,
what they say.
Yeah, but honestly, even if that is true, there's good stuff as well. We can't judge a city, by what you see online. I think it was Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln. Why can I spell his surname?
Lincoln. Yeah.
Lincoln. What's wrong with me? I think it was him that said, "Never trust anything you see on the internet."
Yeah.
And
I think it was definitely him.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I mean, obviously not. People don't always lie on the internet, even when it comes to cities or how it is to live in like New York, for example. But you shouldn't base your opinions entirely of that.
So I'm from Chicago, and Chicago has a very bad reputation. Not just among foreigners, because that's the thing they heard about Chicago is that it's very dangerous. Lots of crime.
Yeah.
Lots of gunshots. They basically say that if you go to Chicago, you're guaranteed to get shot,
Exactly.
or robbed. And also a lot of Americans also think the same thing. Like they think Chicago is a dangerous hellhole, full of crime, drugs, and crime, and it's dangerous. But you walk around Chicago, and yes, there are dangerous places, and also, I don't recommend walking around Chicago at night in certain areas. And of course, you can argue that should not be the case in any city in general. You should be safe at night too. And I agree. But people are saying that Chicago is like, I don't know, like Iraq or something. It's like you get shot there like it's a war zone. It's not true. Chicago is a great city and you have so much to do, you have so much to see. And I've never had a problem in Chicago. And they say the same thing about DC, by the way. Washington, D.C. has a reputation for being very dangerous, with a lot of crime. But I walked around D.C. at night, at 12 o'clock in the morning, at midnight, at 1 o'clock in the morning, when there's nobody on the streets. I've done that many, many times, and nothing happened to me. So, I mean, something could happen to me, of course. You have to be aware that something could happen to you at any moment.
Yeah.
But it's like, I guess it's similar to, similar to what you said about, like, Paris and, like, New York. People have this perception, and then the reality is very much not the case.
Exactly. And, but, we keep talking about America here. And, America is very interesting. I would be to America, sit and tell it again. I've never been to America, but I would love to be there, like, one day. But, we mentioned that you're from Belarus, and I know that you left it very early in your life, so you probably don't remember much back then. But I think you've been to Belarus after that, right? Have you ever been to
Yeah,
Belarus
so I
after?
I left Belarus when I was 2 years old, and I've been back, I would say 6, 7 times maybe. I don't remember the exact amount. I went back, I think, in 2004, my second time. So I think 2006, 2010, and then in 2015 and 2016. And 2016 was my last time. So that's been 8 years ago now,
Yeah,
2016. So a lot has changed in these 8 years. I have no idea what Belarus is like right now. I mean, I read the news. I have people from Belarus that I follow. I have friends that I work with at my current job who came from Belarus like 2 years ago. Um, but I have no idea what Belarus is like right now. Um, so I can't speak as like a professional when it comes to Belarus. I would say like as opposed to somebody who knows nothing about the country, I know more than them. But I'd say somebody who actually lives there probably knows a lot more than I do.
yeah, and obviously you can't visit right now because if you
And I
don't
don't want
visit,
I don't want to visit right now. I have
yeah,
no desire,
yeah, it's kind of
especially after meeting with Svetlana Tikhanovskaya like 3 times
you
and
met her
posting pictures with her.
three
I met
times.
her 3 times.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But I feel like if if Lukashenko watches what I post on Twitter or on Instagram or on Facebook,
He sees
uh,
your
he sees that and then he
horny
sees that
posting.
again. Yeah, well, he probably doesn't mind it. Maybe he even likes it. But he might not like the Tikhanovskaya stuff. He probably doesn't like that I said I want him to get drone striked. Uh, he
Wow.
probably finds that illegal or
Yeah, to put
something.
it lightly, yeah,
So
yeah,
to put that lightly. So and also I'm 26. I'm an adult.
yeah,
So going back to Belarus as an adult, as a man, having never served in the military, also as an American citizen who talked a lot of shit to Lukashenko on online,
yeah.
if he actually follows what I post, I don't know. It doesn't seem like a good idea, a good decision.
Yeah, that seems like a new uh, situation where like the detained American citizen in the making, you know, like have they have in Russia. And it's also not helped by the fact that I know in Belarus, it's the last place in Europe, if you don't count. Uh, Actually, I think it is the last, yeah. It's the last place in Europe where they have a death penalty. And, if
Yeah,
Lukashenko thinks, you're too treacherous,
and it's
then,
not like
you know,
yeah, and it's not like you can go to court and like have a have a good lawyer who'll defend you
yeah,
and protect you, and then like a good judge might say, well, he didn't violate any laws. No, and like in Belarus, like there is no court system really. I mean, you go to prison basically immediately.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I don't know how they would perceive, I don't know, me as an American citizen either, because even if I don't say anything about Lukashenko, if I say nothing about the country, if I was apolitical, не в политике, uh, and go to Belarus with a U.S. passport, or just be an American citizen, even that is kind of dangerous, I would say,
yeah,
because they might want to arrest me on some stupid reason, and then hold me ransom for like an exchange, like they did with a few like in Russia, that's what they did with a few people, if you remember.
yeah,
Like they released all these war criminals in America in exchange for like a basketball player that got arrested.
yeah. It's very unfair
Yeah.
exchange, think about it.
Yeah, it's not.
They
But
exchange,
that's what Russia does.
nice guy to I eat children for breakfast, kind of people.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's people, math and justice system. In America, people say that there it's not good, and it's not perfect, definitely. I've heard some horror stories about the American justice system. I mean, heck, we just had news lately of a man who's on death penalty, right, on death row right now, and
Yeah,
he had like some stuff, and he wanted to not be uh, not have that penalty, but the Supreme Court of his state said no, he will be executed despite it being controversial. What was the Supreme Court? I don't remember. The U.S. Supreme Court. It was either the states or
yeah,
the U.S. one. And yeah, people say that the stuff about American justice system. Yeah, it's not perfect. It's not it's not only good. I've heard,
yeah,
but then you have Belarus, and it's just what is a trial? What is a fair trial? I know the concept of a fair trial there.
yeah. Absolutely
Okay.
not. It's like a country without laws in a way. It's um
Yeah.
very arbitrary.
Yeah,
And
and
that's the worst part about, I would say, Belarus, is that um you basically have no way to defend yourself at all. Like zero way to defend yourself if
exactly.
something does happen. Which is why I don't want to go there, because they could arrest you for any reason, and you can't really prove anything.
Yeah,
Uh, and they don't care either way. Like they don't give a fuck. So
exactly.
yeah,
And yeah, it must suck for you because at least I can if I want to return to Ukraine, I mean I won't be let out ever again of Ukraine until the war ends. But still, if I wanted to, I could go to Ukraine. Not be arrested for anything. But you probably miss Belarus a lot. Well, before the whole when you were little, right? And you probably will, probably you would
sometimes, yeah. I
return,
mean,
you know.
I really like, I have dreams of like Belarus, like visiting them. Like sometimes like a few weeks ago, I had a dream of me walking around Minsk, and it was like a free country, and like you had the white, red, and white flag everywhere, and like
Oh,
it was like peaceful and stuff, and like you had a lot of skyscrapers being built, like um, and I think that's like my dream, is to go back and it's like a normal country. Um, but at the moment, I can't foresee a future like that.
yeah,
Um,
that
I
must be
mean,
a lot harder, no?
unless Russia collapses, and I hope it does. I can't see a future for Belarus at the moment, and especially if Ukraine loses. Like,
Yeah,
okay, well, if Ukraine loses, Belarus is it's just fucked. You know,
yeah,
you have no future at all.
and culture
It's just
too.
gonna be a, it's gonna be, yeah, you're gonna lose the language. It's gonna lose the culture. It's just gonna turn into like a Smolensk Oblast.
Yeah.
Um, it's very,
Do you know
it's very
Belarusian?
unfortunate. No, I mean I can understand it, but I never lived in Belarus really. So, and at home I speak Russian with my parents. So there was nowhere for me to learn Belarusian.
Oh, I see. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my classmates who I went to school with, many of them are from Ukraine, uh, and some of them they don't speak Ukrainian, because their parents are from like Kharkiv, like
Yeah.
from Berdyansk, and they speak Russian. They speak Russian at home, so they never learned Ukrainian, and it's like that's kind of like the issue with
I,
like diaspora.
I wouldn't say that, I mean, I can't speak for them, but in my experience of just spoken Russian my whole life, I've been surrounded by Russian language my whole life. But despite all that, I still learned Ukrainian, even if they barely spoke it. But at school, I taught Ukrainian, so people have learned Ukrainian as well at school. But yeah,
Yeah,
speaking wise, maybe not so often. They
I
did.
mean nowadays, you have a lot of Ukrainian schools opening up, especially in Chicago. Like I see, like you walk around any like diaspora community, any business, like you would see these business cards saying, "Hey, you can send your kids to learn Ukrainian at this school,"
Yeah.
and then that's what people do nowadays. But when I came to America, like I didn't even learn Russian. I never learned Russian. I never studied it in school. I never went to classes. I never, you know, I only know it because I speak it at home. That's it.
Wow.
If it wasn't for that, I would not even know Russian. I would just speak English, and that's it. That's the only language.
The American
Um,
way.
Just the American way, yeah. Like that, that YouTuber Nikocado Avocado.
Yeah.
The fat guy. He's from Kherson, but because he lived in America his whole life, basically, I don't know if he knows any Ukrainian. He
I'm
probably
not
knows
sure.
only English.
I think he knows
Yeah,
Russian. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think he even knows Russian. I think he just knows only English.
Yeah.
Um,
It's crazy.
so not. I mean, if I was 2 years old again, and I came to America now, as a baby, I feel like the situation would be different. But when I came to America like 20 years ago, 20, well, 24, 23 years ago,
Oh.
um, it wasn't. You just didn't have a community that was big enough to, teach you any language besides English.
Yeah. And you also have to consider that Belarusian diaspora, and Belarus in general
It's
is
a lot
much.
smaller. It's
Yeah.
very small.
I was gonna say Ukrainian,
So
has way bigger
you could,
influence and everything, but Belarus is not as
yeah,
big.
you, like I never hear Belarusian spoken in Chicago, or I mean, even where I work right now, most of my coworkers are from one of the former Soviet countries. So they would say like, oh, from like Ukraine or from like Kyrgyzstan. I have like coworkers from Moldova, and the Kyrgyz people they speak Kyrgyz. The Ukrainians they speak Ukrainian among each other, and also with clients. But I have 3 coworkers from Belarus, and none of them speak Belarusian,
Wow.
not even among themselves. And so they only speak Russian, like only speak Russian to each other.
Yeah.
And they know Belarusian. They studied it. I'm sure they know it, but they just choose to speak Russian. Whereas with Ukrainian, the community here, they actually do speak Ukrainian, and I feel like Belarus just haven't reached that moment. They haven't reached that level. Maybe in a few years, maybe if like Lukashenko goes away and everything's beautiful and amazing, they will.
Yeah, it
But
will
at the
take a lot of
moment,
time. We
yeah,
weren't, we were not even at this level of Russification that you guys had went through, and it was still, it was still hard for us, and still is hard for us to entirely switch away from the Russian sphere in language, culture, and everything. But for you, it will take like even more time. It'll take a monumental effort. But I'm sure you can do it. I believe it. I believe it. Guys.
I mean, maybe I'll learn it, but I'd have to I'd learn Belarusian if there was somebody to speak it with.
Yeah.
But at the moment, there is nobody to speak it with, so I have no incentive to learn it.
Yeah, but
Maybe at least maybe if inside Belarus it changes, then there'll be a reason. But even inside Belarus right now, there is no incentive to speak it, really.
yeah, and you have to also choose, Latin or Cyrillic. There's 2 like alphabets for Belarusian. 3 if you count the Arabic, the Arabic Belarus alphabet.
Not there, everybody. That'd be funny, but unlikely.
Yeah, and just Belarusian culture. They now Lukashenko one obviously. It's very fascinating, and I too want Belarus to be democratic and everything like how you want it to be as well. My
Yeah.
grandma is actually from Belarus. She was born in Brest, Brest-Litovsk, that place.
Hmm.
But then it was under Poland, so not Belarus, yeah, still. But she was Belarusian herself, I believe. But she moved to Ukraine a few years later. Yeah, and yeah, so I guess I have some Belarusian blood in me as well. But yeah, it's not really a thing I think about or consider. Just fun fact. Fun fact for parties or podcasts. Yeah, but yeah, that's pretty fascinating. And
Yeah.
let's talk about your Twitter, right? Uh, I've seen you post very often about Belarus, politics, and also some of your stuff. How do I say this in a kind of like general way? Oh yeah, hardly posting.
I just post selfies and stuff. That gets me the most followers. Like that's how I got 30,000 followers. It's primarily because of the selfies and pictures I posted myself. Not so much of politics, although I have a lot of politics followers now. which is also why I stopped posting selfies as much as I used to, because now I have like journalists following me, like MSNBC and like
MSNBC follows you? Oh,
yeah, I have a journalist, pretty important guy,
oh, cool.
follows me. He has his own podcast, by the way, too. Uh, although I never
Everyone,
watched it.
everyone, and their mother has a
Yeah,
podcast nowadays.
yeah, yeah. So he follows me. I have other professional people following me. So I kind of have to be more professional
I guess.
than I would no than I would want.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. I remembered you also privated your account when when you're looking for a job because you know the job people they look at your social medias, so they don't hire a Nazi or something. That's the only reason I
yeah.
can think of.
Well, the thing is, like, I have on my Twitter, I have like 25,000 posts, so I have no idea what I even posted a year ago.
Yeah,
And I'm not gonna look for it.
not a year ago.
So
Yeah,
somebody might. But also I feel like they don't really check your Twitter until you get a interview at least.
yeah,
Because they have so many job applications, probably like hundreds of job applications
of
they have
course.
to look through. They're not gonna go through my Twitter. But
Yeah,
if I ever do get a interview offer, I will have to mute myself, not mute myself, private myself,
yeah,
just because even if it's like nothing offensive, like maybe they don't care about my politics, they don't care about um, anything, but they might think I'm not professional enough, you
yeah.
know. Maybe like I know some companies they want your professional, your social media to look like a LinkedIn, like very professional, very like
I
I
have a
did
social
this, I
media.
got this. Yeah, and I don't want to have a Twitter like that. I don't want to have a social media account like that.
Exactly, same.
It's just boring. It's not interesting, and it's
Get LinkedIn for
and
that.
yeah, you have LinkedIn for that. Why would I treat Twitter? Why would I treat Instagram? Why would I treat Facebook like a LinkedIn as well? I'm not gonna do that. Um, especially like on Twitter, I treat it more like a diary. I don't even like some people follow me for politics, but it's not a politics account. Uh, like some people make politics their whole thing on Twitter. Like
Yeah,
that's all they do is post politics every day. Or like you have people who are activists for a certain cause, like they are be activists for Ukraine or for Palestine or for whatever, and that's what they all post about, and that's fine. You know,
yeah,
uh, that's fine. I'm okay with it. But that's not who I want to be. I'm not an activist. I'm
same.
just a person. Um,
Uh,
and
I
yeah,
think with all this you mentioned about social media and everything. I believe that in like the next 10 years or so, I think eventually, companies will stop caring about people's social media and what they posted like 10 years ago. It was something like cringe or something like bad or unprofessional. Because if you think about it, right, almost everybody now has social media accounts. Almost everybody had
yeah.
like Twitter account or Discord account or whatever. And so, it will be very hard, I think, at that point to find someone who wasn't, cringe or was, a bit unprofessional at some stages
You
of their
know,
life. So I think
you
eventually,
know this Twitter,
well, yeah,
you know this Twitter account, Slavic,
yeah,
or yeah,
so
I
yeah,
feel like that's like the typical average politician of the future.
exactly,
It's basically him.
yeah,
He well, there might be a conservative version of him, there
yeah,
might be a liberal version of him, there might be a communist version of him. Basically,
pamphlets,
I feel like he is like the typical future politician, and he posts a lot of cringe. He posts a lot of stupid shit
yeah,
that you know might look
not
bad
perfect, yeah,
sometimes, uh, but that's going to be the average future politician. So they're all going to be like that. They're all going to have something stupid posted at some point in the past or something unprofessional. And I feel like at that point, they're not going to care.
yeah, and like
What?
they won't work as
Yeah.
like a what called it don't work as a how do you say it in English? Um, I said in Russian. Well, because it is in English as well. Sometimes I've heard. Don't be like compromat won't work.
Well, compromise, it's not going to work on.
Really.
By the way, compromise, that's the English word for it as well. They just took it from the Russian one.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I
There is
said.
no. Yeah. basically everybody has compromise on them now. If they want to be a future politician, um, especially if you come from like a very like politically active background nowadays.
Yeah,
Like there are those still people who are like very professional, like LinkedIn and stuff. Like they all their social media going back until they were a kid is like a LinkedIn. But that's very strange. And usually those people are coming from wealthy backgrounds, who
yeah,
are able to. I'm not sure. I just feel like the future is so many people are gonna have compromise on them. They're not gonna care.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. That's what I'm
and
saying.
some compromise like they don't care nowadays at all. Like I know 20, 30 years ago, if somebody told you that this politician is a gay person, that's like the end of their career. Nowadays, like I feel like half of Twitter is gay, so it's like it's not really a compromise anymore. Like nobody cares. Um, and if somebody posted like nude pictures of themselves, or they would be like horny posting, or like nobody's gonna care. They just
Exactly.
don't care. No.
And of course, there also will be stuff like if it's like very very bad, like we see with the black Nazi guy in North Carolina, then it'll
Yeah.
still work. But if it's
Well,
like someone that
I
born in
feel like
2015, yeah,
a lot of people are gonna like have that stuff on them, especially like uh people like that guy, like those who have really strange beliefs. They tend to have strange behaviors as well.
exactly.
But that's just gonna be the common, the standard future. The average future is gonna be like that. You're not gonna have politicians like Joe Biden or like um Kamala Harris or whatever,
Yeah,
who grew up before the internet, before all this, uh, where it's just the word of mouth, or maybe they wrote something in the journal, like Noam Chomsky or like Kissinger or whatever, like they wrote something on in like a journal like New York Times. That was the controversial stuff. Now you have like 30, 40,000 posts on Twitter for every politician who wants to be like a future politician, and like they all said something stupid like 10 years ago.
yeah,
And yeah,
Some
basically, as you said, they're not gonna care really that
yeah.
much, because everybody kind of has something stupid that they posted a while back.
Yeah, the past shouldn't hold back, people and their careers because if that was the case, then nobody would advance forward. It's very much the thinking I've seen. I'm starting to see appear right now, and that's reassuring. It means that people are less scared about being themselves in a good way, in a human way because we're all human. We all make mistakes. We all say stupid shit, and
Yeah, I mean,
if we yeah
I would say that having a social media presence that's like LinkedIn all the time
yeah
is not normal. I feel like
yes
that's not. You're not an interesting person. I would say that you're just like a cookie cutter, like
yeah
one. It's like a I don't know how to describe it. It's just
artificial,
artificial. Yeah, it's fake.
boring, no,
It's boring.
non-human,
It's fake.
alien.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Speaking of aliens, since here in America, it's very important that this year there will be an election. Um, and we're seeing Donald Trump being, Donald Trump, saying that, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, that stupid stuff. That's like apparently it's what's happening in Springfield, Ohio, even though it's not happening actually. And I want to know, like, I know you're obviously for Hamawa, but like, in your area in Chicago, Chicago I think is broadly blue, like liberal. But have you experienced like can you tell us about like from your personal experience, your like environment? Like, have you ever met like any Trump supporters or even worse, like
Oh, I know a
suicide?
lot of them. In fact, a lot of the Ukrainians I know are Trump
Oh,
supporters.
that's not surprising. Yeah, I know about it. Like a lot of people will be surprised by that, but like if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
They're American citizens, not Ukrainian citizens. Like a lot of people will be like, oh, but Trump this, Trump that, and yeah, Trump is definitely not for Ukraine, right? But these people, right, Ukrainians abroad in America, they're American citizens, and they vote for Trump because he's conservative, traditional values, everything, right? not because Ukraine exactly. And that's a lot of people like also. I think what a lot of people in Ukraine itself don't understand when it comes to people who support Trump in Ukrainian Americans who support Trump, because they don't know the context that being an American, right? I'm saying this is
Yeah,
not
I mean,
not someone who was in America, but you know, it's just
like I support Kamala,
yeah,
but my parents support Trump, and they're voting for Trump. Now, I disagree very strongly with them on this issue.
yeah,
I think the reasons they're voting for Trump, I think they're stupid.
yeah.
Uh, and I think the reasons they're voting for Trump are also based on lies. So, like,
They're reading
what
the
you said
dogs.
about, yeah, what you said about Ohio, Springfield, Ohio, they're eating the dogs. Like, my parents, they hear that and they think that's true. Now, I tell them, this isn't right.
Yeah,
This is a lie. And sometimes I say that they're basically watching the American version of Pierre Canal,
yeah,
where it's like just bullshit. Uh, and I tell them, look, you're basically watching American Pierre Canal. Stop doing that.
yeah,
But they think they're immune from propaganda.
yeah.
So
Nowadays,
I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna try at this point. Like, whatever, vote for Trump, whatever. I'm
yeah,
voting for Kamala.
yeah.
That's your decision.
It's like
Uh,
as they say in Ukraine. It's grinful and sinful. It's funny, but you also want to cry. When you hear like it eating the dogs, like it's obviously bullshit. It's kind of funny because it's
yeah,
obviously like that's stupid, but they also cry because a lot of people believe that. They really believe that, and really they just believe it very strongly, right? And they think it's actually the truth, and it's not. And you want to cry because of that. It's sad.
yeah.
It really is.
But in Chicago, I mean, Chicago itself, it's a liberal city. It's blue.
Yeah,
Um, very Democrat. You walk around town, you see lots of gay pride flags. You see Kamala Harris signs. You see, sometimes you see communist stuff. Like you would see a hammer and sickle, which I think is very stupid. But you see sometimes that stuff on the walls, occasionally. But then you drive to a suburb.
yeah,
Even the suburbs that are very close to Chicago, like um, Northbrook or whatever, or especially if you go even further out, like McHenry County, you see Trump everywhere. Like McHenry County, those who don't know what McHenry County is, I don't blame them because it's only those who live in Chicago who know what McHenry County is like. But it's basically just rednecks and white trash, and it's all just Trump signs everywhere, and the people there are generally not that well educated.
yeah,
Um, and that's very close to Chicago. It's an hour away. It's
yeah,
Illinois still. But you see, so, it's very much the divide. You can feel it. You can notice there's, you know, you still also see sometimes like you go to a Republican state that's like very red,
yeah,
like Wyoming or whatever, and you can also see Kamala signs. So it's very mixed.
yeah. It's
And then when you look at the election results, you see like 50% Kamala Harris and 50% Donald Trump, and it's really I say it's true, like
yeah.
50%
Texas
one
my
way,
flip.
50% the other way. Uh, I think it's strange.
Yeah,
I think usually it should be a little bit, 60%, 40% maybe. But the past few elections, this one I think is going to like to be like this as well.
yeah,
In 2020 it was like that. In 2016 it was like that. In 2012 it was like that. Where it was basically 50-50.
yeah,
Almost 50-50. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. I feel like
yeah,
the next elections in 2028 are also going to be like this. Yeah.
yeah. It's
But I
really
do worry. I do worry that it's gonna be worse,
yeah,
because you have all this misinformation, especially coming from Russia now. All these fake news, and you have a lot of people who are older, like my parents, who use Facebook, who
yeah.
use the internet now, where it's just lies, a lot of lies,
And
lots
slop.
of bad information, lots of slop.
AI slop.
That they read.
Not
Yeah,
bad, not bad.
AI
Like
slop.
personally. Yeah,
When I was a kid, you had the internet, but you didn't really have social media. You had like MySpace and like early
yeah,
Facebook. and my parents weren't on that. They didn't use it. So they voted they supported Barack Obama in 2008, and now they're voting for Trump. And I think the reason why is because of Facebook, and because of the internet, because of all this bullshit. And I do worry about that a lot. That's what I really worry about.
Yeah, and also like it's also just described very well the urban versus rural divide. The rural, a lot of rural, a lot of people think that like the American Civil War will be like red states versus blue states, and in reality it will be cities versus rural areas more or less. Because like if you think about it, right, in America there are not many like red urban areas, and not that many like blue rural areas. I mean there are a few obviously, but like not that many, right? It's mostly just like that. Like it's not mostly urban blue, rural red. No in between. Third parties are follow from this. Have you ever seen like Jill Stein supporters or I don't know
I see them
libertarian?
online on Twitter, but I don't really see them in person.
Well, makes sense. There's like five of them.
I've never seen a Jill Stein supporter in person. Actually, I don't think I've ever met one. I've met a few Libertarian Party um, supporters. Actually, in college, I ran the Libertarian Party club at my college. I was the president
Oh wow,
for 2 years
that's so cool.
back in 2016, 2017. But I stopped believing in the Libertarian Party, especially now, because I feel like right now the party is very much just Trump supporters.
Yeah.
They are just conservatives, and I see no reason to be in that party or even vote for it.
In general,
Um,
there like when I've like researched, I've not seen a single like uh, American third party that's like, to me at least, would be good in a way. Like heck, even like Ukrainian support, right? Green Party, literally like Russia, right? Libertarians,
uh,
definitely, not.
also Russia.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, you
yeah.
know, that's the case.
Like I
And
think
then you
there's
have the
only like
other
one
ones.
party, yeah, that supports Ukraine. Uh,
Yeah.
I think it's called the American Solidarity Party, I believe. It's some Christian
Well,
democratic thing.
when I was I used to be a libertarian a few years ago in 2016 and 2017, and a lot of the people who we looked up to, who we thought were good role models, who had good views, were people like Rand Paul, Ron
Musk.
Paul, uh, not Musk, not so much,
Well, I
not
mean
at the
in
time.
general, not just libertarian, but like people looked up.
Maybe, but at the time, the politicians who we really looked up to was Rand Paul and his father, Ron Paul.
Yeah.
And then also politician Gary Johnson, who was the candidate at the time, and
Oh.
also in 2012, uh, there
Yeah.
were also others like this guy from Michigan. I forgot his name. He's Palestinian American.
Oh.
Um, he was actually I forgot his name, but he's from a Michigan representative. He's also a libertarian, although he ran always as a Republican. Same thing with Ron Paul, always as a Republican, but they were always seen as libertarians ideologically. But now, you look at Ron Paul, all those people, and they're all just repeating the same bullshit about Russia. How
Yeah.
NATO started it,
Exactly.
how we provoked Putin, and I just can't identify with that. I can't agree with
Of
that.
course.
Um, so to me, it's a disappointment.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, lots of people now in the Libertarian Party are aligned with those views. They think America provoked NATO or whatever. They think, and also I just don't agree with them on other issues. Like I don't agree with them wanting to destroy the Department of Education, to create a flat tax or whatever. I just think that's
Yeah.
not that smart.
In general, like I get the impression that libertarianism is just ideology that's like rules for thee but not for me, kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
they're like for liberty and all, but then like conservative stuff. It's here. Um, but yeah, it sucks that America doesn't even have like a multi-party system. There's only like really two parties. Other parties exist, obviously, as you mentioned, but like they don't get nearly enough votes or funding or
Well, yeah.
whatever. It's
Well,
just
there can't be a multi-party system because if let's say the Republicans get 50% point one, so 50.1%
yeah,
of the votes, and the Democrats get 49.9.
yeah,
And the reason the Democrats lose is because of the Green Party. Like that's actually what people say happened in the year 2000 when it was George W. Bush versus President Gore.
yeah. It seems
Not president. He wasn't president. Just Gore. I forgot his first name. Al Gore, I think
Al
his name
Gore,
was
yeah,
Al
Al
Gore.
Gore, yeah.
Yeah, George W. Bush versus Al Gore, and they say that the reason George Bush won was because the Green Party at the time took just the right amount of votes away from the Democrats for the Democrats to lose.
I
And they said
remember.
that yeah, and they said if it wasn't for that, if those voters who voted for the Green Party voted for the Democrat instead, so it was like I think 30,000 votes only.
Yeah,
The whole difference was like only like 30,000 votes. If those votes went to the Democrats instead of the Green Party, we would not have had George Bush as president. And
yeah,
that's why people hate the third parties, both the Republicans and the Democrats. Now, of course, the Republicans, they love the Green Party because it takes votes away from the Democrats. They
yeah,
love that. They say, if you hate the Democrats, vote the Green Party. But they say that because they want you to lose. Uh,
yeah,
that's why. And then the same thing with the Libertarian Party. The Libertarian Party usually takes votes away from the Republicans, and so the Democrats love them. They say, okay, you don't like Donald Trump, vote for the Libertarians, and then that vote will go towards the Libertarians and not towards the Republicans. Um,
yeah.
but in like a multi-party system, like in Germany, I would say you don't have this issue because it's like I'm not sure how their system works, but it's like I think it's like 5%, something like
Yeah,
that,
threshold. Yeah.
proportional, yeah. If America was like that, then there would be a lot more parties, but now you only have two parties.
Yeah. And it's like, how was I gonna say this? I was listening so carefully to you that I forgot. It's like I remember Mr. Beat. You know Mr. Beat, right? The YouTuber that does like American history videos. He's very cool if you didn't watch him, but yeah, Mr. Beat made a video about where he says that actually Ralph Nader wasn't a spoiler. And so I'm not sure, but I think I've heard one of the main reasons was actually the ballots in Florida. They were very confusing, and people accidentally voted for like Pat Buchanan,
Yeah,
for example. Instead
they
of
were
like
called chuds, actually, ironically. Those
ballots.
yeah, I'm not sure if you, oh, maybe you actually learned about this in the video, but in Florida, they were doing voting by paper,
Yeah,
and the way you voted was you had to make a hole in the paper.
yeah,
Uh,
it's like so weird. You
it
can't
would
like
say
change your
like,
mind.
yeah, so
You
you
can't
have
just
like
yeah,
George Bush and then Al Gore, and then you make the hole where it says the president's name,
yeah,
the one you want. Uh, and many of those votes were not stamped properly or correctly.
yeah,
Um, and because of that, you had people like guessing, like, well, okay, well, is this a valid ballot or is this invalid? So you had that issue.
yeah, exactly.
You actually, it's surprising how dumb people are. If I like, you have
Exactly.
one job, make a hole, you can't do it.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a bit confusing. I've seen the layout. It was like a bit like like weird, but even I think I would have done a better job than most people in the whole thing. But you know, that was that. He lost, somehow. Um, yeah, and in Australia here they have they have a very interesting system. Just a similar tool. It's a system that's basically you have to number all the candidates, or at least most of them. I think you have to number every candidate, but it's better if you do that, I think, that way. Or it's better, I don't remember. I don't know, it's mandatory to vote here necessarily though. But basically, you have to number a candidate from 1, the one you most like, to 5, or the maximum numbers, the one you least like. And then they count like the votes, like in importance. And in the end, they count the two most popular candidates, the two party preferred count. And whoever gets the secondary counts from the other candidates, gets the most of them, and the most votes, wins. In a first past the post kind of system. It's not perfect. It's kind of still has some issues, but it's pretty interesting. I think it does the job for students.
Honestly, I love that system. I wish more countries had it. I wish America had it.
Yeah.
But in America, the thing is, you only have 2 choices at the end of the day, anyways. So even if you do that, even if you do make that system, whereas pick your favorite, it's still gonna be between Democrats and Republicans. So it's like, okay, well, my top choice is the Republican, or my top choice is the Democrat. Most of the time, that's going to be the case, anyways.
Yeah, especially
So I can't see that being the case for
and the
America.
parties, here they give you how to vote cards, how to rank them specifically, this stuff. It's interesting. It's very interesting. And again, mandatory voting, right? So almost every Australian votes, because if you don't vote, then you pay a fine.
No, I think that's a good idea for America.
Yeah, I agree. I think mandatory voting is good. It encourages people to think more.
Yeah. And also, in America, that very much explains why we have these elections turn out 50-50%. Because younger people, my age, my generation, they have a very low turnout. Now, I don't remember what it was last time, so I can't tell you for sure. But it was very low. Like, of all American citizens, of all U.S. citizens, I think only like 70% vote, something like that. And then, of those that do vote, how many of them are young people?
Yeah.
And that percent is even lower.
Exactly.
Most of the voters are older people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. The old people vote a lot. Like, they have the most share of any voter category. And the young people who tend to be Democrats, who tend to be liberal, they vote the least.
Yeah.
And also because they don't know how to vote, maybe, or they don't think it's important enough, or because they don't have time,
yeah,
or it's difficult.
No.
Yeah, they just choose not to vote.
Yeah,
and so you basically allow older people to make the decisions. I think that's why you had Joe Biden last time, an old guy, because the average voter is an old guy. So that's why he was the choice. I feel like if the average voter who voted in American elections was like 30 years old, 35, I really doubt somebody like Joe Biden will be the candidates. I really doubt Donald Trump will be the choice. I feel like it's going to be between 2 Zoomers or like 2 millennials, not between 2 old people. And I feel like if America had mandatory voting and you made all those young people vote, all those millions of young people, if they they had to vote, you'll have very, very different results. And you will not have old people like Donald Trump or Joe Biden as the candidates.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's just, I also see a lot of people, in America, young people, they also don't like this two-party system. They also, especially the protest, the protest of Palestine or whatever, they, don't want to vote. And then there's also some that take it even further that, go, oh, you believe in democracy? How is it? Oh, you believe in democracy?
Yeah.
Well, I believe in better strategy. It's called firebombing Walmart. They don't firebomb Walmart. That tweet?
Yeah, that's a funny post.
Yeah.
That's true. I think it's true.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of people are like
they don't know how to respond.
Yeah.
They don't do anything.
Yeah, like communists in like Western countries, they're like, revolutions will be here, right? And then all they do is just sit on their couch all day on Twitter and post it. And it's obviously also cringe because what's revolution? What democracy obviously is the way to go. Even in America, people, at least you guys, unlike in Belarus, I can, have
No, I
democracy and
wish in
everything.
Belarus they actually did firebomb Walmart. That would have been funny. But they don't have Walmarts there.
Yeah.
But they should have. Like
Hey,
they should
I think you're coming to Belarus anytime soon with those comments.
have. No, there's no Walmart to firebomb, so
Oh,
Lukashenko, it's okay.
yeah.
But
And
yeah,
by the way, did you vote in the last Belarusian presidential
I did
elections
vote in
in the embassy?
2020. Yeah, so I went to Washington D.C. in August 2020,
Yeah,
um, to vote for Tikhanovskaya
yeah,
at the embassy. And I waited outside the embassy. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning or something. And there was a big line of people wearing the white, red, white flags. Almost everybody was wearing the white, red, white flags. I didn't vote. I didn't wear it, but everybody else was. So you could tell that the mood was very much against Lukashenko. Like, no, I could not see anybody voting for him. And I feel like the same thing happened in Belarus as well. Like, I feel like most of the people who voted did not vote for Lukashenko. Just the vibes were not there for Lukashenko. So that's why I think he cheated. Also, other reasons why I think he cheated. More obvious ones. Because he gave himself 80%, which is, I think, insane. If he gave himself like 52%, I'd kind of believe it maybe. Maybe if he gave himself 50% and Tikhanovska 49% or whatever, I would believe it still.
yeah.
But he gave himself 80%. Like, are you kidding me, man? Like, why? Why
Yeah.
can't you just give yourself 51%? And people would like say maybe it's possible, maybe
Yeah.
it could be true. It's possible. But he gave himself 80%, and that's why you had all those protests. Like, this is bullshit.
And this reminds me,
But
right? Sorry, it just reminded me that you mentioned the flags. I remember when the Russians had their own presidential election quotation marks.
yeah,
Some people like abroad who voted in the Russian embassies, they're not allowed to vote in if they had like an Navalny sticker or whatever or a flag of the opposition. I know about was that a case? Did you see like people denied entry to the embassy with
no,
those
no,
flags?
no.
No?
I think it's what's strange is that the Belarus embassy actually it's pretty good in Washington D.C. Like they don't actually like care at all. Like if you hate Lukashenko, they don't care.
Yeah,
They
it
they
makes
just
sense.
they're just bureaucrats. They're just diplomats. They don't care. Uh, so like if you walk to into the embassy wearing the red flag, they don't care. If you're saying I'm voting for Tikhanovska proudly, they don't care. I actually think they didn't even cheat the elections there. I remember like I read somewhere they gave out the result for the Washington D.C.
Oh yeah.
Results somewhere online. I remember they posted them from the government. By the way, it was like a Lukashenko like website, and they had the results for Washington D.C. and it was like 90% Tikhanovska. So they didn't cheat there. They
Yeah.
didn't like fake anything there. They were faking it in Belarus, not an embassy.
I think the same was in
Which
the
is
Russian elections as well.
yeah, maybe I didn't follow those that closely, but
Yeah.
and I was surprised.
And
But the,
yeah.
when I was voting inside, it
Sorry.
was just a piece of paper. Like they printed this piece of paper out with like a Microsoft Word document, and it just had like six boxes, like Tikhanovskaya, Lukashenko, and like some other people that I don't care about. Um,
What
it
about those
was
people?
a lot different. Yeah, who cares about those people? It was a lot different from the American elections because I voted for American elections like four or five times now.
Oh,
My first time was in 2016. Then I voted again in 2018 and 2020, and now I'm voting again. And it's a lot more professional. You have like a nice document. You circle it in with like a pen. Um,
yeah.
you have all these choices. You have also referendums on local issues. So every ballot is different. Even like a small village has a different ballot. Like you would have a specific issue concerning this village, and it'll be right next to the president. So you also vote on those issues, and that's pretty cool, I think. I'm
Yeah,
not sure how that's like in Australia or if it's like that in Ukraine. Maybe it's different. I don't know.
I've seen it like in America. They have like they vote like for like I don't know the local plumber or whatever, and they have like Democrat, Republican, and all that. Like maybe even too much democracy on Twitter.
You have also you vote for the coroner
Yeah.
who examines bodies. So when
Wow.
somebody dies and you have to examine it, do an autopsy. The coroner does an autopsy, and you
Yeah.
vote for the guy.
I
When
maybe
you vote
vote.
for president, you vote for the guy who does the autopsies.
That's
Which is
crazy.
I don't know. I'm not sure why anybody would actually want that position. I feel like that's like a very bad job. I mean, it's important,
Yeah.
but I would not enjoy doing that every day, looking at
Yeah.
dead bodies.
And
And then also running for it, like doing an election campaign against an opponent who's a Republican and you're a Democrat, and your job is to examine bodies and have people vote for you. That's for me. That's a really strange thing. But I guess it has something to do with politics. Maybe you don't want a Democrat examining your body. Maybe you don't want a Republican examining your body. I don't know, but
yeah, they
it's
vote
a
for.
strange choice to have.
Yeah. Imagine voting for some, Republican Trumpist coroner, and he's like, "I will not examine woke, illegal alien."
Transgenders, yeah.
Yeah.
Or that like maybe a Republican coroner will say that this is actually a woman and
Yeah.
not a man,
Exactly.
or this is actually a man, not a woman. And then if it was a Democrat, he'll be accepting of transgender people. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean we laugh right now at this, but seeing how where America is going right now, that could be a thing. Unfortunately, God, I wish not.
Yeah.
I really wish not. But yeah, and yeah, pretty interesting. I can only imagine like you know how Belarusian democracy will be after democracy comes. And you touched on touched on the protests. I've heard various reasons why the revolution in Belarus failed. I remember hearing that I think from someone, maybe it was from you, even, that one of the reasons was that the Russian opposition, like told the Belarusians to like be peaceful, and then they became peaceful or something. I don't really think that's true, but maybe you know
Well,
better.
I think it's partially true. You had lots of messaging at the time.
Yeah,
Lots of social media posts, also from the opposition itself, from foreign leaders like at the time it was like Germany and like Lithuania, Poland. All those politicians who are supporting Belarus and the opposition are saying, "Look how peaceful these protests are. They just want change. They want democracy. They're peaceful." And then a lot of Belarusian people, lots of politicians like Tikhanovska and stuff, they were also saying, "Let's keep it peaceful, non-violent, like
yeah,
they did in Czechia when the communism collapsed. They had the Velvet Revolution with like no blood being spilled, and they wanted to repeat that in Belarus. But Belarus and Lukashenko are not like 1989 Czechia.
yeah,
They are brutal dictators who don't care about you, who can and will kill you, and they don't have a problem killing you. Like they don't
yeah,
care. I don't think you can have a peaceful revolution with that type of person in power. Sending a Putin. You can't do a peaceful revolution in Moscow. It's not going to work. It has to be violent. I know people don't want to hear that, and they think that's not people aren't going to make that risk. They're not going to risk their lives for a revolution. But I don't see another option. It's the
yeah.
only they have no other option besides violence.
Exactly. And
Um,
I also heard that another reason was the Russians. They sent troops to help, you know, craft the rebellion.
yeah. Well, what they didn't exactly send troops. They did send, I think, some police.
Oh yeah,
But what really happened with Russian interference in Belarus is overnight. So I think it was August 10, they had the election, and then you had the big protest beginning. Lukashenko got really scared, and what he did was he gave all the police, especially the OMON, a big pay raise. So they were making like $100,000 American overnight.
Yeah.
Huge amount of money. They were making more money than basically any other job in Belarus. The OMON.
Yeah.
And that money was coming where? From Russia. Because Lukashenko did not have the money to give to these police officers, to the OMON. He didn't have the money for that. But Russia did. And they gave Russia gave Belarus a big loan. I think it was like $5 billion. And Lukashenko basically spent it all on the police. And the police, they didn't care about, democracy or freedom and stuff. They just care about the money. Kind of like, Wagner in Russia, like the mercenaries. They don't care about the ethics. They don't care about freedom, democracy. They don't even care about Russia. They don't care about Putin. They only care about money. And same thing with these police, the OMON. They only care about money, and they're getting paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's why the police, they were so brutal. They didn't care about anything. They just care about the money and stopping the protests. And that's how Russia intervened in 2020. But they also something that only was later revealed, and Ukraine actually revealed this. It was the Ukrainian. I remember reading on the Ukraine's government website for the what's the Ukraine's version of the FBI, CIA? I think it's called SBU.
Yeah.
SBU, yeah. Yeah, SBU, they posted on online on their website about Belarus a few months after the protests, how Russia had gathered forces on the border with Belarus, tanks and soldiers, um, who were going to walk into Belarus and intervene immediately if Lukashenko has to flee.
Yeah.
So if Lukashenko had to run away like Yanukovych did in Kiev,
Yeah.
as soon as he does that, Russia comes in and intervenes and invades. And that's what the SBU said on their website. That's what they told us later on. So that's kind of also why that's why I think Belarus is basically fucked either way. Like if Lukashenko lost and he was overthrown, like in Ukraine with Yanukovych, if Belarus won and succeeded, and Lukashenko runs away, or he gets killed like Gaddafi, or like Ceausescu. Like if basically Lukashenko's gone, Russia invades
Yeah. Exactly.
and starts a war. And do I want that future? I don't know. Like it's a tough question to ask because I don't want to see Minsk turn into like Mariupol or like
Yeah.
Mogilov turn into like Mariupol. That's like a nightmare. But right now, Belarus and Lukashenko, it's also a nightmare. It's like you have no freedom, no future. It's Russification. You have the language is going away. People are leaving. You know, it's sad. I don't know, like, what would have been the best choice in 2020.
Yeah.
Lukashenko stays, or Tikhanovskaya wins. Lukashenko dies, and then Russia starts a war. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, actually, what do you think? Like, if the Belarusian Revolution succeeded, like, how would it affect the war? Here. I mean, here, in Ukraine.
Ukraine, I don't know how it would affect Ukraine, but Belarus, it has a lot less people, 9 million.
Yeah.
And the military, it's a lot worse state. You have 28 years of Lukashenko. There was never a period like you had with Ukraine with Yushchenko or like
Exactly.
opposition, who actually did try at least something with Ukraine. You didn't have that with Belarus. You have just a shitty military. It's still crap right now, with old equipment, old tanks, against the Russian military,
Yeah.
which at the time, before it was in 2020, so the whole invasion of Ukraine in 22, it didn't happen yet. So you still had a lot of the tanks, you had a lot of the soldiers. I just don't think Belarus could succeed. I just feel like Belarus would immediately lose. And
Indeed.
just Yeah.
And they won't have the Western support that Ukraine has, I
No.
believe.
And there won't be enough soldiers. There won't be enough people fighting against Russia, because the population is just so much lower than Ukraine.
Yeah.
And also, if Russia won and annexed Belarus, like they did with Crimea, or with like they tried with Donetsk and Lugansk, if they tried to annex Belarus and put their guy in charge, like a Kadyrov type person,
Yeah.
that would have been the worst possible outcome for Belarus.
Yes. The bad.
Even worse than Lukashenko. I feel like that's even worse than Lukashenko, to have like a Kadyrov in power.
Yeah. It's just it's like the worst ending you could imagine. Just absolutely. Yeah. Wow. And but obviously you're still hopeful for the future. I mean, a lot of people are, who are in the position, and
Yeah, me too.
yeah,
I'm hopeful. I consider myself an optimist. I feel like Ukraine will win, Belarus will be free, Russia collapses, or something like that. I don't know. But it won't be. I hope it won't be a problem in the future. Um, and America has a good president who does good things, and that's. I
exactly.
hope that's the future. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
we'll
see.
see. And
Yeah.
how India, it's way overdue. Wow, you've been doing this for 2 hours now. Jesus, this will be a long
Yeah, 2
episode.
hours.
Okay, but in the end, I want to ask you about, what should I ask you about? That's what I was in the script for your questions. Um, you know, can you tell us about like you more like as in do you have like any hobbies that you like to do? Like what video games do you play, for example?
Any
Or
hobbies?
yeah.
Well, at the moment, I don't really have any hobbies. I used to have hobbies. I used to take karate class. I used to take horse riding. So in college, I was in the horse riding club, the equestrian team.
Oh,
Um, I took painting as a kid. I took figure skating as a kid. At the moment, I don't really have any hobbies that I do. I play video games. I'm not sure if I don't really think it's a hobby. It's just
at this point,
entertainment.
it's hard. Yeah.
You could say maybe a hobby, yeah, but I wouldn't call it a hobby. But right now I'm playing Half-Life. Oh, I just finished Half-Life 1, Blue Shift, and a few days ago I finished Half-Life 1, Opposing Force, and then a few days before that I finished Quake 2. So I'm trying to play all these old games because they're really easy to play. No complicated instructions. Uh, I don't know. I think they're fun.
Yeah, older games tend to be easier to play. Don't have all of this, stuff that they have now.
Yeah, like you have like I'm not sure if you ever play Call of Duty now, but it's just crap. You have all these microtransactions, you have all these power-ups, you have to buy all these coins. I don't like that stuff. It's just too much going on, kind of hard to focus, too many options. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Oh, and I also want to ask you, would you like to go to Ukraine one day?
Oh yeah, I'd love to. I really wanted to actually. Um, I wanted to do that before COVID happened. So in
Oh,
2016, I went to Belarus to see my relatives. Um, I went to in Russia. I went to Russia in 2019 to see relatives. And I have relatives in Moldova who I really want to visit someday. And I have also one relative in Kiev
oh,
uh, who works, I think, in a children's hospital as a doctor. I'm actually not. Maybe it's the one that actually got attacked recently. Forgot what it was called.
Ahmadid,
Yeah, I think
the children's
maybe that
one.
one even. Yeah, she's a children's doctor, pediatrician. So maybe she actually was working there. I'm not sure. I'm not in touch with her. She's just like a kind of distant relative. But I was hoping maybe I can get in touch with her sometime and then show her around, because her family name, last name, is it was the same as mine.
Wow,
So you know,
that's
uh,
amazing.
I don't have that many people left with my last name, because most of those people have either died or something like that because they were old.
Oh, and also,
Yeah.
yeah, you I know you recently started to go by Mikita instead of Nikita on Twitter.
Yeah.
What made you what influenced you to do so?
Well, I did that because I thought, why not? I think not many people have that name on Twitter. Uh, and but I don't actually go by Mikita in real life. Uh, on all my documents, it says Nikita. On my passport, it says Nikita. Even on my Belarus passport, it says Nikita. So none of my documents have Nikita, but I thought, why not on Twitter? Uh, I think it'd be fun.
Oh, that's cool.
And also, I thought, no, yeah, I just think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting name to have, and that's why I put it.
Yeah, and did you have like trouble? Have people when did you have trouble with? And do other people have trouble? Pronouncing your name or surname in America?
In America, my first name is fine usually. My last name, I'm not gonna say it, but they do have sometimes issues pronouncing it. It's not even a difficult name, so I'm not really sure why people have issues pronouncing my last name. And then my first name, they don't have issues usually, because they probably heard the Elton John song, Nikita, or they heard the movie, the French movie Le Femme Nikita or whatever.
Or
So they're
Nikita
familiar with
Khrushchev?
the name. Yeah, or Nikita 0sha. Actually, when I was in college, I was learning German, and my professor, a very old guy, he was 85.
Wow,
Um,
that's
I'm not
enough to
sure if he's
run
still
for the U.S.
alive.
presidency.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's still alive. He might be dead now. I don't know. I haven't really kept track of his life, because you know. But he would call me Nikita Khrushchev, because that's who was the president of the USSR, the general secretary at the time when he was my age, when he was young. Yeah. Um,
Wow.
he was also, yeah, he was a very interesting professor, by the way. He was teaching me German. He also teaches Italian. He was
Wow.
also teaching Russian, and he was teaching Dutch.
Three languages at once.
Yes, one, like, he would have an Italian class in the morning, and then at 12 o'clock he'd be teaching German, and then at 2 o'clock he'd be teaching Russian.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yes,
That's
and he
impressive.
was 85.
At 85
Uh,
years old, no less.
yes.
Yeah.
So
So,
very interesting character.
yeah. Well, I just can relate because, here in Australia people have trouble pronouncing my name. Surname not so much a thing, but yeah, my name is not very common. So, yeah, there's that.
Is your name Nick? Do you go by Nick, right?
Oh, yeah, kind of online I go by Nick, yeah. We'll talk about this for a different time, to put it lightly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fine.
anyway, yeah, it's okay. Oh,
I
yeah,
used to I
that's...
used to go online. I would have a different name too sometimes. Like I'd have a Roblox account. I'm not sure if you know what Roblox is,
I play that
but
every day.
yeah, Roblox. I have my username is Danny, uh, Daniel. Why? Why? Because when I was a kid, I thought I have to name my character a name. I didn't think that's my name. I thought it was the guy's name. So I named him the guy. Named him Danny. Uh, and then people kept calling me Danny, but I'm not Danny actually. I'm Nikita. But yeah, basically, I had a totally different name on Roblox, and I find that funny. But yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's fun.
sounds like something a kid would do. Exactly. Exactly something a kid would do. Well, yeah. Well, that's very cool. Do you have any like last things you'd like to say? Before we end this podcast. Like some kind
Well, it
of.
was definitely nice talking to you. It was interesting
Thank you.
to hear from somebody in Australia and to hear about
I
how
think
life is like there.
yeah, I feel about that. I want to make sure I don't speak too much about Australia, but I think today did just the perfect amount of talking about Australia. Maybe a little bit too much, but yeah, I'm fine with it. But yeah, thank you very much, for coming.
Yeah,
It's good that had the time to come to my show and to be my guest on it. I know in Chicago
yeah.
right now it's what time is it in Chicago?
Right now it's 10:20 in the night. Oh,
Wow,
it's 10:20 in the evening. Well, night, evening, I'm not
it's
sure.
wow, it's quite late. It's 1:20 p.m. for me in the afternoon.
Yeah,
Is this?
different time zone completely. And you also, on your thumbnail, it says September 28th.
Yeah.
But actually for me, it's still September 27th, so I'm in the past.
Yeah, I'm in the future.
Yeah, I'm living in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is time that's it's like the biggest. That's actually one of the biggest worries of mine when I came here. It's time zone because I have friends still in Ukraine, and in Italy, for example, the announcer for this podcast, he is my friend, and you know, they're all like most of them are in Europe now, not in Ukraine but in Europe, and the time zone difference is massive. When I talk to I call my grandma on the video. The time is radically different from here. And that's a bit inconvenient, but I've gotten used to it now. You know, it's probably difficult. It was probably difficult for you as well. I guess for you as well a bit, right? When you like kind of lived, in Europe, Germany, and also in like America, in a way, right?
Yeah. I mean, before my grandparents passed away, um, I would talk to them on Skype, and we'd always have to plan ahead of time when to talk because in Belarus and Minsk they were, I think, 5-hour difference. So we would be talking at like 9 o'clock in the morning, and then for them it's like 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah,
Uh, and it's always dark on their screen. Always have lights on. But for us, it's all daytime. Um,
yeah,
so I had to always plan ahead of time to make a conversation. But
yeah,
now they passed away, so well, unfortunate of course, but also in a way that's also why I don't really worry about going back to Belarus that much anymore
yeah.
because I don't really have anybody to visit that much.
Yeah, that's sad.
So
You don't have any friends in Belarus?
I do have some people I know in Belarus, but now they left. Uh,
Yeah,
they moved to Czechia, they moved to Poland. So I actually don't really have anybody in Belarus left who I really am close to. So it's kind of like a mixed blessing. It's
yeah.
it's a bit bad because I don't have anybody to visit, but also it's kind of good because I don't have anybody to worry about.
And to visit as well. We all
Yeah,
know
it's
Belarus.
it's a mixed blessing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, makes sense. That's fair. Um, and yeah, it'll make this podcast production of this second season harder because when I made the first season, I was in Kiev and that gave me less problems. Even though half my guests were like Americans, but
Yeah.
it was still easier to deal with American time zones in Ukraine than it is to deal with Ukrainian time zones or American time zones even in Australia. Like I used to think it'd be easier for me and you to talk with you and have the time difference wise because I thought like Chicago was close enough to Australia, like closer than to Europe. But I think I counted. I think it's actually closer in Europe, like time zone wise, than here in Sydney. Also, like Australia has like several time zones too, so we're like America in a way. But I'm on Australian Eastern Standard Time, AEST. So yeah. Well, yeah. Then, again, thank you very much. Sorry for holding you up.
No worries.
All right. Well, then, yeah. See ya next time.
All right. See ya.
Well, the viewers, the viewers. Yeah. I'll see you all next
Okay.
time. Bye.
See ya.